there was a lot of discussion around what makes a Counter-Strike team profitable at the beginning of this year. There were kind of two different lines of thought on that. There was the Flashpoint and Associated Teams line of thought. There was the ESL Pro League and Associated Teams line of thought. Then some people in the middle that I guess just didn't want to answer that question too much, that didn't side with either side. In terms of the, looking back now a couple of months after participating in ESL Pro League and in the case of Complexity, do you think, do you believe more now that a path to profitability is possible after participating in EPL for a season, or do you think COVID?
Oh yeah,
window?
No, absolutely. I think COVID's going to delay it. I think projections need to be moved back on the spreadsheets in terms of what month, those break evens are coming. But I'm really bullish on esports. I'm bullish on Counter-Strike. I'm very confident that we can get to break even and then to profitability. There might be different models. You got the Flashpoint model, you got the ESL based model, and I think that's also a good thing, right? Competition spurs on excellence. It spurs on progress. It spurs on people to work harder and to be more creative. And if there was one global Counter-Strike league to rule them all, that could possibly be less than ideal. And maybe someday we'll get there. But the current status of where our ecosystem growth is in Counter-Strike, I'm happy that there's different leagues and operators and things around the world. Getting to profitability means that we need to figure out better ways of monetizing the fan base. If you read the studies on how much like an average NFL fan brings to the league a year versus how much an average esport fan brings in a year, it's quite staggering. And that's not necessarily to suggest that our fans are less passionate or our fans don't have the same, disposable income. That's to suggest we haven't discovered proper ways of monetizing that. And there's multiple reasons in different esports why that might be. In Counter-Strike specifically, I think it can be challenging as we're very grateful to have Valve involved, and Valve's involvement through the major system and really updating the game a lot more lately has been very appreciated. But you've got the tournament organizers, you've got Valve developer, you've got the teams, you've got different parts of the ecosystem, each trying to make a profit from their efforts in the industry. And until we kind of come alongside each other, similar to kind of what the stickers are at the major, and figure out more ways like, hey, I could tell you from just reading messages each day and trying to keep up with the flurry of messages I get on a daily basis on my Instagram. It's really funny. Like I only have 2,000, 3,000 followers, but I managed to get like 100, 200 messages a day. And I try to get through them all each night. There's passionate fans in Counter-Strike. They want to buy our jerseys. They want to buy in-game items. They want to contribute to the ecosystem with the money they have, similar to NFL fans, NBA fans, MLB fans. But we haven't offered them enough ways to do that. It's inherent, and it's our obligation as leaders in the ecosystem, as the business people in the ecosystem, to offer viable ways for our fans to support us, to support the players, to support what we're trying to do. And I think there's plans in the work. I think that's constantly going to be developing. But it's something that we haven't come far enough along. And, this is going to delay things, of course, but I'm optimistic for the future.
I actually want to ask you this because I find your perspective unique, and I'll explain why as sort of someone who reported on all this. You were in a unique position in the sense that when you and I first met, there were a lot of venture capitalists and other family offices, hedge funds, et cetera, coming into esports, pouring money into player salaries. And Complexity, actually, you were probably in the third wave of people who took on investment relatively. If we look at it, into 2015 is the beginning, and then there's another one there in 16, 17. And then, you got it in early spring, summer 2017. But you've been here for a long time in the industry. And I remember how flabbergasted people were when we actually reported that the SK Gaming org would be signing those Luminosity players for $10,000 a month. People were blown away about that in the summer of 2016. As a bystander, how do you think we got to the point where Counter-Strike players are worth so much money on a monthly basis? Oh, you're muted, by the way. Or push talk? Still can't hear you.
There we go. My bad.
Yeah.
I was saying hi to Twitch chat and I didn't click back over to Discord. It's an old man boomer noob mistake. No, I think it's a great question. I think I alluded to one of them, which is just there has been a lot of investment pumped into this team, and the team owners are very competitive. When you go out and get that investment, part of the agreement you have is you're going to build a compelling, exciting brand with lots of fans. How do you do that? Well, one of the ways you do that is win. So now I've got X millions of dollars for my investors. I need to go spend it on a compelling team, because if I have to go in my boardroom with these investors that have trusted me with their capital and my team is horrible, they're going to be asking why, and I'm going to be sweating, right? So a lot of that has gone on. That's raised player salaries. And I think, it would be unfair not to credit the fan base. The reason Counter-Strike is so desired, the reason Counter-Strike has done very well for so long is the fan base. When you turn on Twitch and you go through what top games are, like Counter-Strike, when the tournaments and things are going, it's one of the very best esports in the world, where you could put 100, 200 more thousand people watching these matches from all corners of the world. There's value in that, and people realize there's value in that. And like us, my team, just over a week ago, you want to be on the final stage, right? You want to be in the championship, and there's value in that. So I think as the ecosystem has grown and the investment has grown, and the team owners, as always, are competitive, it's driven player salaries because we want to win. I also remember when 10,000 a month sounded like a lot of money. It's like, holy smokes, now it's tripled or more for good players. So yeah, it's a different world. If you would have told me to be $1 million buyouts a few years ago, I would have probably choked on my coffee. But here we are, and I'm glad we're here. Right? It is difficult. We need to get to profitability. We need to create a sustainable business model out of this for everyone's benefit. There needs to be give and take across the ecosystem. But I'm glad we're here, right? Like, I'm so happy players are making this kind of money. I'm so happy we have this many viewers. I'm so happy I have a hard time getting to sleep at night because I have so many Instagram messages. Like, this is awesome. This is what we've all worked so hard for. And yes, there's going to be challenges. And then once we figure out how to monetize it, we're making all kinds of money. There's going to be different challenges, right? And there's always going to be challenges. I'm optimistic. I'm so happy, and I feel so blessed to be in this ecosystem. And we're going to figure it out. We're going to keep kicking ass.
You have been through some experiences of bubbles popping in esports, or time, notably CGS, Complexity, one of the few teams that has sort of weathered that storm and stuck around after all these years. Does it feel like we're in one now?
Yes, I've been saying for a while now that I think we're in a bubble, but there's different kinds of bubbles. Some bubbles pop. That was the CGS bubbles. Other bubbles just need to deflate a little bit. I think there was too big a rush for investment that was so excited to be in our ecosystem, so excited to be involved with what we're doing for damn good reason. The money wasn't always, in my personal opinion, everyone can have opinion, spent in the best ways. And I think some investors are going to tire. They're not going to have the stamina. They're not going to realize this is a marathon. This isn't a company you invest in and then you flip for 10x like a Silicon Valley tech startup app or something. They need patience. They need endurance. They need to understand that this is a marathon. And I don't know that all the investors in the space are. So I personally expect and I've been saying this before 2020, that there's going to be a contraction in some of these things. We're going to see some orgs contract or go out of business, and not everyone is going to make it, but it's not the kind of bubble that's going to pop. I think esports is far too diversified. It's far too globalized. The number of eyeballs we could drive from around the world is far too large for it to just pop. But I do believe there's going to be a correction, and I do believe that the current, global pandemic is only going to accelerate that, unfortunately, and or fortunately, depending on whether you consider a correction healthy for the ecosystem and the growth to sustainability. But yeah, I do think we're in a bit of a bubble.